In today's video, we are going to go more into detail on some of the sewing basics that you need if you want to use a sewing machine. Hand sewing is a whole different beast than when you've got a machine involved, so I'm going to go over some of the tools that I use, some of the machines that I use, some of it upgraded to, and help explain things in an easier to understand way. If you want to sew with the sewing machine, you've got to have the machine itself. This is the machine that I am currently using. This was a hand-me-down machine from a friend of mine. It is a Brother XM2701. It's got a lot of different stitches on it, 27 different stitches in fact. And it's got all of the basics that you need as far as how to use those stitches. This one has a top loading bobbin. It also has a reverse stitch button here. There's a lot of things that it came with. I didn't get any of those when I got the machine, but it's okay. Most machines have this little slidey part. This is me on the struggle bus trying to get it one-handed. And there is the struggle bus again, trying to get it back in. Every machine, you want to refer to the instructions because each one is different. Most of the time, the threading process is very, very similar. You can actually wind your bobbin with this little mechanism here. Brother machines that I've encountered all have the instructions printed on the actual machine itself, so that's kind of helpful if you don't have the instructions handy. So you can see it has numbers that tell you exactly where it needs to go. This goes down. This is number 1. Here's number 2. You bring your thread down this way. Number 3 goes all the way around. Then you've got the little arm here. I know there's a technical term for the arm. I don't know what it is. I just call it the little arm, but you see it sticking out there. When you do your number 4, you want to go over the notch that's on that arm. And it goes up and down, so you just want to make sure that you catch that. Then it has a number 5 here, and that's where it goes down, and then you can go through your needle. Now there's also this little thing back here. You want to make sure that it's around that as well. Always remember, no matter what machine that you're using, you always want to remember that you want to thread your needle from the front to the back. Every machine has these little measurements on the metal plate that's on the bottom, and it's just going to help you line up your work. But yeah, this is my current machine. It works really well. It is definitely an adjustment from the other machine, which is here. This is my first machine, my OG one, and it is a Genome New Home Model 108, and it is an older machine. It doesn't have nearly the amount of stitches that the other one has, but it has plenty to get the job done. It's much heavier than the Brother machine, and the reverse button is on this side versus where it is on the other one. You can see the plate has measurements. There's not nearly as many. The bobbin winder has the spool holder. You can see the arm is here, and it goes up. It dances just like that. But when you do the braiding process with this particular machine, you go down and around the opposite way. Go over the arm and through this little hook. You go down this little spot right here, and then you go over. There's the little arm that was on the other one is here, right there on this machine. You use the left hand side, and you also want to thread front to back. This particular machine is considered a low shank machine. It has a spring-loaded hook that holds the foot in place. The basic stitches that you need are a straight stitch and a zigzag stitch. We also have buttonhole stitches. I believe that's right. This one has a straight stitch. It has an offset straight stitch, a regular zigzag, a dotted zigzag, and some other fancy stitches that are more decorative. But you can see on the dial that you just turn the dial to whatever stitch that you want to use. But yeah, it's definitely my fave. Now, the third machine that I have, this is another Brother machine, but this is a Brother 1034DX Serger. Now, this is something that I wanted for a very long time. I use big spools of thread on this bad boy, and it does 4 different stitches at the same time. It's more complicated to thread it. There is a little tray that is removable. When you use this machine, there's a little blade on the side that actually cuts as you sew. It has a larger sewing foot than a normal machine, and it uses 2 needles to make this happen. The instructions on how to thread it are also printed on this machine. But always refer to the instructions for help. They're going to be your best resource, hands down. On the machine, along with showing you what path to take to thread it, it also shows you which thread coordinates with which stitch is happening. The green one, it does a zigzag. This thread is going to run out way quicker than the other ones, and you can see the size of this spool is quite smaller than the other ones here. Really handy. I'm really glad that I went ahead and got it. It's pretty neat. So back on talking about the sewing feet, here are some examples of some different ones that I have acquired over time. You've got some that are like open toe, you've got some that are for free motion quilting, you've got some that are for hemming, rolled hems, things like that. This right here is actually the foot that I use the most. This is called an even feed foot, or a quilting foot. Walking foot is also another name for it. This foot and the one that I had before are both investments, aka do not get them cheap, because you're gonna just be in a world of hurt trying to fiddle around with something that's cheaply made. When you start machine sewing, you want to make sure that you have high quality needles. Here's some examples of some needles that I use. Schmetz, this is a brand that you'll see all over the place. And you want to make sure that they are for sewing machines and not for hand sewing. As you can see, there is a very distinct difference between them. This is one for machine sewing. It has a round part on one end and it has a flat part on the other side. And I'm highlighting there that you can see that there is a flat part. There is only one way that the needle can go into your machine, and you'll just have to refer to the instructions. Also, making sure that you have the correct needle for your project. There's stretch needles, there are universal needles, there's different size needles depending on if you're doing light or heavy items, and you just want to make sure that your needle matches your project. Another important thing that has to do with machine sewing only is going to be the bobbin. And again, there's a number of different options for bobbins. It is very, very important that you get the specific bobbin that will work with your specific machine. I cannot stress this enough. They have plastic ones, which this is an example of a plastic one. There is the metal ones. Metal ones are really finicky. I've never really had like a whole lot of success with them. I prefer a plastic one, but again, it just depends on the machine. Every machine's different, so you just have to mess around with that. And there we go. There is a video just showing some different options and showing some of the highlights on if you do want to get started with machine sewing. I know it may seem intimidating. I understand. I've been there. I've done that. But if you read your instructions and take your time and be patient, I can guarantee you that you got it. I never thought in a million years that I would acquire a machine and then I would make cosplays, or I would make bags, or I would make other little projects here and there. Never would have thought, never would have imagined that that would be something that I would do. But now that I have, and now that I've discovered that I could do that, it's been really, really neat to see the things that I can do. So, and I know I have the confidence that you can too. So if you think of anything else that you may want as more details on a certain aspect of hand sewing or machine sewing, again, I am not an expert. I'm learning every day and every time that I do a project, but let me know in the comments and I will see what I can come up with. Other than that, in the future, I plan on doing some actual projects on here and, maybe doing some little, I like scrap fabric, obviously. Scrap fabric I have a whole stack. This is what I've currently been doing, is the scrap fabric stuff. What am I going to do with it? I don't know. I may make another quilt. Every quilt that I make for myself, I end up giving away. So I figured it might be time for me to make my own one so I can get cozied up, because it's been cold as hell and I like to be cozy. But anyway, that's what we'll start doing on here. And again, if you have any questions, let me know. And yeah, thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time.